Sorry, hang on. Text test. Hello. Hi. Oh my gosh. It's a miracle. Can you hear me now? No idea why, you guys. And all my checks right before everything worked. So let me start over again. Good morning, everybody. No idea why that happened. Computers are just weird sometimes, I guess. And I don't know that you'll be able to hear me on all the remaining slides, but we will give it a go. We'll hope that it works properly today. Yeah, thank you guys. Everybody's texting me to tell me. So we're off to a 2 minute late start. We'll just keep going. For all of you who are celebrating Mother's Day today, or remembering your mom, or thinking about old mom things, many blessings to you in this day. May you just have a great day of good things. For all of you who are hurting today because you're missing your mom, or because different things may have happened in your life, or you wanted to be a mom, just also blessings to you on this day. May you just have a day that works, that feels good, and enjoy being outside in the world. So, I want to get right into this morning, because we're living in a world where there are different brands of Christianity, and we need to talk about them. Sorry, I had a little bit of a throat thing today, so I'm going to try not to be too obnoxious with it. Um, we need to talk about these different brands of Christianity, because if we're going to be followers of Jesus, we need to be clear about what we believe, and what we're following, and what we're hoping to become. And so I want to dig a little bit deeper into Jesus' teaching in the Sermon on the Mount. And these are the first three core teachings that we started working on last week in Matthew 6. And so let's look at this together again. Beware of practicing your righteousness before others in order to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. We're going to talk about that word reward today. So, whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets. They didn't probably literally sound any kind of trumpet. It's just saying, don't call attention to yourself, don't make a grand entrance, okay? So that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, which is giving money to the poor, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Again, there's that word reward. And the very next teachings in Matthew 6 center around this same idea, which we'll get into more fully. The next one is about prayer. And here's that core verse. When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And I looked, the original language, the word really is pay back, reward. That's the best translation we have for that. And right after this, Jesus teaches about the Lord's Prayer, which we'll talk about one of these weeks coming up. But the next one in this segment is about fasting. And I know I started talking about this last week. I've had a little more thoughts. But here's the core verse that we want to talk about today. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, which made them feel clean, so that it will not be obvious to others you are fasting, but only to your Father. And then the Lord will reward you is also in that. So I didn't get that right there. In Matthew 6, 1 through 18, Jesus is saying that we should not use God and our faith practices for self promotion. And if we use our faith practices to get attention, then that's all we're going to get out of it. That's all that will add up for us. And there are reasons for that. So, what I really want to get at today is this word. Jesus also says that God will reward us, because I think the meaning of this word is what will help us understand why these faith practices done in secret are important. In other words, done for the right reasons are important, because what is this reward? And this is a problematic thing, because there are a lot of people who take this to mean that God will literally reward you individually, personally, with all sorts of things. What are God's rewards? Because we got to talk about this, because other brands of Christianity talk about God's rewards, I think, in a different way than Jesus means here at all. So let's look at it. Is one of the rewards you might think for being faithful like this is heaven, right? Is heaven one of the rewards for giving and praying and fasting privately and quietly? Is heaven? It could be. I can't be 100% sure about what happens after we die because, well, I've never been there. It's a matter of faith or questions. A lot of people question what that is. What else are the rewards? Well, some people might believe that the rewards are good health and long life. So if you are faithful to the ordinances and commands of God, you will be protected from illness and you'll live a long, healthy life. Friends, that cannot be one of the rewards because there's a whole world of people who do not experience good health and long life, who are very faithful people, probably more faithful or more quiet than I am about my faith, and they don't get this benefit. So that cannot be the reward that Jesus is talking about. Be very careful of any words or language that you use that lean towards that, because that really hurts people who have not been healed and who have been diagnosed. They start wondering, well, God, what did I do wrong? Why did I get sick? Why did these things happen? That cannot be the reward. Is the reward financial provision while we're here on earth? Now be very careful with this, friends, because if it is, what do we say to people who can't make it financially? I mean, there are all kinds of people who give faithfully, who file for bankruptcy. I mean, it's not a given. This can't be the reward. Be very careful with this, because I hear people even say in this area now where we are, because it's a habit to say this, that if you give to God what you're supposed to give to God, God will make sure you have enough. Well, I'm just here to tell you, friends, that doesn't seem to be true, because there are all kinds of people who struggle financially, even though they have been faithful. It is the reward to gain God's praise. So, in other words, are we worshiping God to get God to praise us? Well, that's just like getting attention, right? Or to get something that we want. So, if we are doing things toward God, giving and praying and fasting to get God to praise us, or to give us something, or to provide us with something, all of this leans towards what we call prosperity gospel. Prosperity gospel is something that I've talked about quite a bit. It's this idea, this belief that if you are faithful to God, God will most certainly be faithful to you. Well, we believe in God's faithfulness, but we can't be sure that means individual success or provision or health. We can't be sure that's what it is, because it doesn't seem to be so much about an individual goal. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But what I want to say about this is really important, because there are people who represent other brands of Christianity who call themselves Christians who say wild and crazy things. And so I want to show you a video here. And I promised last week I would talk about this. This person is Paula White. And Paula White is the senior advisor to the White House Faith Office. And so the current administration has chosen this person and her views to be the senior advisor for faith matters, the most important faith in person in our current administration that leads our country. These are her views. Listen to this video and then we'll talk about it for just a second.
You can receive these 7 supernatural blessings for you and your house. According to Exodus 23, God will assign an angel to you. He'll be an enemy to your enemies. He'll give you prosperity. He'll take sickness away from you. He will give you long life. He'll bring increase in inheritance, and he'll give a special year of blessing. You're not doing this to get something, but you're doing it in honor to God, realizing what you can receive. And God declares in Exodus 23:15, none shall appear before me empty-handed. We always bring to God. That's how he says from Genesis to Revelation. Ministry takes money. And if you have the ability to stand with us, I want to ask you to put your faith during this very holy time, because I give just to give. And I pray there are others. But also know we want to get you some special gifts.
For your special Passover offering of $1,000 or more as the Holy Spirit leads, you will also receive the beautiful 10-inch Waterford Crystal Cross. Don't miss your moment to release 7 supernatural blessings and provision into your life.
Okay, friends, that is not fake news. That is not made up. That is Paula White, and she is asking for you. She is, yeah, yes, she is asking for you to donate $1,000. This was before Easter of this year. And I'd like to get a hold of all the people that did donate $1,000 to her ministry, because here's what she promises for the $1,000 gift that you give to her and her ministry. Here's what she promises. She promises, according to Exodus 23, and this is wildly taken out of context, just wildly, because in Exodus 23, God is offering instructions for something called the Festival of Unleavened Bread. And it has completely different meaning in that context to those people at that time. But she says if you donate $1,000 to her, which is something God wants us to do, is to donate to good things, right? But if you donate that to her and her ministry, she will be sure that an angel is assigned to you. Really? $1,000? That's all I got to pay for an angel to be assigned to me? This can't be. And here, look at this. That God will be an enemy to your enemies. This is what she says God will do if you send $1,000. Do you see how this is? Yes, Deb. Yikes. Do you see how this is a different version of Christianity? Jesus says, love your enemies. But Paula White, the senior advisor to the White House for Faith Matters, says that God will be an enemy to your enemies if you give $1,000 to her, to give you prosperity, to take your sickness away. Again, I'd like to follow up with the people who sent her $1,000 and see how they're feeling today. To give you long life, to cause increase for you, and to give you a special year of blessing. Friends, this is what they teach. This is what they say. Do you know how damaging that is to people, to just think that God is like gonna bless them if they do all the right things? You know how painful that is when people try to do all the right things and discover that that's not what this is about at all. But here's the part I really want to look at is, in her words, is she uses Exodus 23:15 and she grabs this little piece out of it, which again is wildly out of context. This festival of unleavened bread is about everyone sharing and everyone approaching together with something, but everybody shares so that they all have it. And she says that God is saying, no one is to appear before me empty-handed. I want you to think about that, what that means for a minute. Let's talk about that just in terms of a story like the prodigal son. You know, the prodigal son who spends all, yes, Ty, it is, who spends all of the inheritance and then comes back to the father with it all gone, completely empty handed. And how is the prodigal son received? Arms wide open. The father actually runs out to meet the prodigal son. This is out of context. This is meant to be a celebration of the bounty. This is not, the Bible does not say that you can't appear before God unless you have money to give. What a ridiculous thing. And this is not fake news, friends. That is the brand of Christianity that currently advises our administration. That's a different brand. It's a different meaning. That that is not what Jesus is saying. That is not what Jesus is teaching. Is any of this about the reward that we will get if we do all the right things? No. Is it the reward to gain God's praise? No. That is prosperity gospel, and that is dangerous. It changes God. I want you to look at this, though, because I researched this out big time. Even the Expositor's Bible Commentary and many other Bible commentaries lean toward prosperity gospel on the meaning of this whole reward thing. Look what Expositor's Bible Commentary says. The Pharisees' great weakness was that they loved praise from others more than God's praise. And then they go on to talk about how we need to do these things to earn God's approval so that God will bless us. What? Do you see this? I want to talk about. So, how is it not that? How is it not? Is this all about earning God's praise or approval to get a reward? It cannot be. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Remember, this is really important. Jesus said these words in a culture that didn't think individually. We are such rugged individuals. We're coming to get what we want. I mean, think about it, especially in these United States. We are so individually minded, self oriented. Part of that is survival, right? But Jesus, the culture that Jesus lived in, as in other parts of the world still now, was communal, so communal that honestly, if someone in your family wasn't doing well, then you weren't, because you couldn't think of yourself as doing well and being okay if there were others that were not doing okay. These people cared about their community so much that an individual having gain was wrong if their neighbors or their friends didn't have enough. So when Jesus speaks about reward, he cannot be talking to individuals. He cannot be. He has to be talking to the community. You all will be rewarded if you learn some things. This is really important. Think about everything else Jesus taught. Yes, Christine, collectivist, that's a good word for it. Think about everything else Jesus taught. While he definitely cared for individuals, I mean, he healed people he shouldn't have even touched according to the rules of the day, right? Jesus' primary goal was always about community, because most of those healings were about restoring those people to right relationship in their community. Those people who were sick, who were ostracized, who were pushed aside, even the woman at the well who was thought of as a prostitute, some people said, these people who were ostracized, Jesus comes along to restore them into right community so that they would be brought back into the fold with their brothers and sisters and their siblings. So Jesus, yes, cared about individuals, but what he really cared about was community. And remember, righteousness, what righteousness means in the Bible, really a better way to say that is right relationships. Jesus is speaking about a reward for the community, not for the individual. I'm convinced, let me say a little more about this. It's a mistake to see all of this individually. It really is. And I will talk more about this because I've been studying this and I think we've got a lot to talk about with this. And yes, Christine, there's a huge difference. This whole Christian thing is not about you just getting what you want. This is about us learning how to be people of love in this world. If you see all this individually, you'll start thinking, I'll do the right things and God will reward me, whether that's heaven or health or money or whatever. We're starting to treat God like an ATM if we do that. And frankly, I think that's not at all what Jesus had in mind here. You please me, and I will bless you with the things you think you want and need. No, God is so much better than that. The wrong question is, how do I please God enough to get what I want and need? I think a better question might be, what does God hope for humanity? And how can I be a part of it? Remember, these are the things that God taught, Jesus taught all through the Bible. Mark 12, 30 through 31. I use this passage all the time because it is core. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. And then just as today is a drive-through Sunday for Matthew 25, this is exactly what Jesus is teaching in Matthew 25, verse 40. And the king will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me. When we think in that collectivist way, when we care more about our community than just ourselves, That's when Jesus is glorified and honored. And that, friends, is our reward. A society in which everyone has enough. And I don't know about you, but as a mom and as a grandmother, that is what I want to see for my kids and for my grandkids. And my heart aches and breaks for what's happening in this country right now because, man, I would love to see love prevail. I want my kids and my grandkids to grow up in a world where there's a better chance for love to happen. Really do. Think about this. Giving to others who are in need is love. That is what love does. And it builds the community, it grows the community. As we learn, as you and I learn to be generous, we learn generosity, we understand a whole lot more about God. Remember, God is the open arms God. You know, you don't have to approach with money. You can you can just approach with the desire to learn how to love. As we learn generosity, we understand more about God. And remember, giving is hope in action. It is living so that everyone will have enough. That is what generosity is. That's why Jesus teaches be generous and just do it to build the community, not to get attention for yourself or not to gain a reward in an individual way. I think Jesus is talking all about community here. Prayer and meditation. Jesus says, yes, do these things. Yes, I agree with you, Keith. Prayer and meditation teach us how to love. Listen, as we seek closeness to God and as we strive for emotional health, we become better equipped to love other people and to love other people well, more fully. And as we pray for other people, we may become more attuned to how we can help. This has happened in my life personally. As I have prayed for someone, about someone, even over someone, I have mulled over their situation and and several times thought, this is what I can do. This is what I think would help. This is how I can support. Because this is God's way of working within us. And then the third thing Jesus teaches about fasting. I'm starting to see how fasting may lead us to understand love better. Because as we deny ourselves, we may learn to be more grateful for what we have. And also, we will probably develop more empathy for those in need. This is something we talk about all the time here with Spirit of Matthew 25, is learning to see through the lens of people who are not like us. It is so important. You've just simply got to process all of this because, I know there's talk about 37 dolls. Maybe they can't have 37 dolls. They can just have 3. But I meet people every single week who don't have 3 dolls, don't have anything, don't have enough, don't have a place to live. Okay. I meet people every week and some of them live outside. They're completely homeless. We meet them every week. This fasting may help us have a better understanding and better relational ability. And so as Jesus implies in this passage that there is a reward for being generous, for praying and meditating, and for fasting, what is that reward? Is it those individual things, or is it some of that crazy stuff that Paula White grabs out of context from the Old Testament and tries to make current in order for you to send her $1,000? No, I think the better reward is something else. I think the reward that Jesus is offering is communal, collective. It is a more meaningful life for you and for everybody, and healthy, loving community for everyone. Remember, righteousness is really all about right relationships. The reward, I really believe that Jesus is offering, yes, personal growth and empathy. And it's also, you get to live in a world where everybody has enough. You get to be a part of sharing so that everybody has enough. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Keith, as a blind person. Yes, thank you. It's so important. I'm so glad you're with us online. We need your perspective, okay? The reward that Jesus is offering is a community in which Keith is not left out. Okay? Do you see how much that matters? Do you see how much it matters? Living in a community where everybody's okay, everybody is respected. This is a much greater reward than any of us getting a little bit of attention. Trust me, it's way better. And I would even say that if we're giving and praying and fasting in order to get attention from whoever or even from God, we're not thinking in the way that God thinks. We're not thinking in the way that Jesus thinks, because Jesus is for everybody together. The Bible Project puts a beautiful summary to this. They do a really nice 3-minute video. I'd encourage you to watch it. Check it out. Look up Matthew 6, 1-4, generosity. Michael will probably share the link in a second here. But listen to how they say this. The ultimate reward is to be intimately connected to the heart of God, which is the heart of love. Thank you, Michael. Heart of love. And to share in his renewal of creation. Yeah, I want to be a part of that, don't you? Where there is no room for ego or posturing. Did you catch that? Think about that for a minute. That is beautiful. They go on. For Jesus, imitating God's generosity from the heart is the way to become a truly flourishing human. And nobody should miss out on that. Friends, the very best reward is all about love for everyone. That's what we're going for. That's what we're seeking. That's what we're doing here today. The reward for everyone, that everyone might have enough. Friends, I encourage you to pray for your brothers and sisters, to meditate on the things of God, to learn to be healthy and whole in new ways so that you can love better, because we need this. This world needs Jesus. This world needs love a lot. We need to represent this brand of Christianity with integrity. I encourage you to take time to maybe deny yourself of a few things. You know, we were joking around here this last Friday a little bit about first world problems and extra plus first world problems. You know, I'm worried about the deck on the back of my house. You know, the wood is starting to rot. You know, several of us were kind of talking about it here on Friday night, thinking, wow, it just seems so funny that we're giving food to people who have no home, and I'm worrying about the wood on my deck. Do you see what I'm saying? Deny ourselves just a little bit sometimes to remember that we don't have everything. And a lot of people don't have enough. And then giving because that's what God does. And giving to things that you really believe in will make a difference in this world. Not because you think God's an ATM and you'll get a kickback in some way. Come on. God is about love. And that's why integrity matters. The integrity of our beliefs matter. If we say that God is love, and then we put all these prosperity gospel constructs into place, then that's not really a loving God. That's just a genie in the bottle God, or an ATM. And if you don't have anything to give, you're not going to get anything from that God. That is not a loving God. A loving God cares about all people and wants us to do the same. So friends, I encourage you, get involved for the right reasons. Get involved. And I know many of you are involved. And so I would say stay involved. Keep watching for God's next lead and God's possibility. Because this world needs the true love of God. The Jesus that loves all people together.
You don't have a job, don't pay your bills, won't buy you a home, you better is your life. In 5 is the steps. Ain't the law of the land or the government, but it's all you need. Love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm, and I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. It's waiting for you, knocking at your door. Every moment of truth, when your heart hits the floor, when you're on your knees, and love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm, and I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. And love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm, and I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone.
It's a lofty goal, friends. It's a high calling, truly. It's a broad calling to want everybody to have enough, to want for everyone to be respected. And sometimes it might just seem like there's no hope for that to happen. But really, when you and I learn to love better, when you and I become stronger, when we work together, we can really make a difference. I'm telling you, we can. And all the noise going on around here this morning is just filling me with joy. There goes some carts and there's food moving everywhere. We've had so much food the last week. We can't figure out why, but we're so grateful and we'll keep giving it away. We'll keep doing whatever it takes to love our neighbors, and we'll just keep working toward it. Friends, I encourage you to give where you feel it matters, to pray and to meditate, and give as you can. Don't give to get something, just as you can, to pray and to meditate and maybe think about what other people don't have now and then. This will help us grow in love and change the world, friends. Take care, everybody. So much love to all of you. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. It's going to be a hot one. I'll see you soon.